If I'm self-publishing my book, why do the industry standards matter? I'm Karin with Right Now Editing, where we turn good manuscripts into great books.
And I'm Pegg Thomas, multi-award winning author and editor, and we are two editors for 5 minutes, more or less.
Yeah, more or less, yes. And once again, I picked this topic based off of some conversations on Twitter/X, so starting the timer now. And I saw recently someone with their new hot take on publishing that not all romance novels have to have a happily ever after. And then they proceeded to list a bunch of books that are books that have romance in them, but they're not romance novels. They all have tragic endings. And so it started this conversation about industry standards and how you really do need to understand if you're going to call your book a romance novel, it has to have the happily ever after because that's the industry standard. But Peg,
yes,
that's usually for people who are seeking traditional publication. Why do the industry standards matter if you're going to self-publish and you're kind of making your own rules if you want? Why do you need to know how a romance novel ends?
Because you want to sell books. And there is expectations with each of the genres. If you do a murder mystery and there's no murder, there's a problem here. And if you have a romance and there's no happily ever after, or nowadays they say happily for now, then there's a problem. If you kill off, the love interest, to not really a romance, then it would be called a love story, which is different genre. Okay. And where it's really coming in, where the spit hits the fan for self-published authors is the way they're going to get found generally is through ads. And if you've ever dug into Amazon ads, which is sort of like wading through a minefield, you have to declare all these words that the Amazon search engines will pick up. And as you're declaring these words, you're basically defining your genre. Well, if you don't meet the expectations of that, and somebody comes in and they see your ad and they buy your book and that falls flat of the expectations, do you think they're going to buy your second book or your third book? Probably not. And even worse, they're going to leave a review you're not going to like. So for success, you really need to understand what the expectations are in the industry because the reader understands what the expectations are in the industry. They maybe don't think of it in that terms, because they're not in the industry, so they're not thinking of it in those terms. If you ask them, what are your reader expectations for this genre? They're just going to give you a blank stare. But if they pick up a romance book and there's not a happily ever after, they know they're disappointed. So we often tell people, trust the reader when we're editing because people want to put too much information and spoon feed things that don't need to be. But you also have to trust the reader after you publish your book and realize that they may not ever buy your second book if you don't deliver in that first one.
And that's why it's important to understand, the publishing industry standards, even if you're not going to seek traditional publishing. If you understand, what the major publishers are putting out, what do they consider the new adult? That's a relatively new genre. Well, you can't just decide, well, I'm going to have a 15-year-old main character and call this new adult. Because you're going to disappoint readers. And again, bad reviews, bad sales. Now, if you don't care about sales, if you just want to write books, publish books, just have them out there, you can discount anything that we're saying. Ignore us completely. But Peg and I are both work ourselves, and we're working with people who want to write and sell books. Like, we're not one and dones. We have a lot of stories we want to tell, and we want to share them with as many people as possible. So understanding what readers are looking for and understanding what other publishers are putting out there, it's almost like you can ride the coattails, because if you know what genre you're writing, if you're kind of breaking genre standards a little bit, but other authors that have done that, you can say, hey, authors who like this and this, you can pick up my book, because you've seen it in the industry. You understand what's going on. So even if you're self-publishing, and maybe to some degree, especially if you're self-publishing, it's worth staying on top of the news, staying on top of the standards so that you're giving readers what you want. Because, if you're not giving readers what they want, they're not going to be your readers. So you're writing for yourself. Again, this is no judgment. This is nothing against people who have just one story they want to write. That's a completely different scenario, completely valid. But we actually managed to get this done in 5 minutes this week. First time in a long time.
We're good.
So, all right. Well, we will see you again next week. I am Karin Beery with Right Now Editing.
And I'm Pegg Thomas. We'll see you later.